In this video, we'll be talking about commonly used string functions in Python. So, by the end of this video, you should be able to use Python string library functions to manipulate strings. Although we'll be talking through a lot of common string functions in this video, I really want to stress that there are many string functions. So if you're trying to do something with a string, check the library documentation first. There's probably a function already written which will do almost exactly what you want. For now, let's check out some of these common functions. If you want to change case, there are two methods which can help. First, you can use the method lower. Lower returns a string which has all the original characters from the original string, but now in lowercase. Remember, strings are immutable, so all the functions we'll be discussing in this video return new strings. Just like the function lower, there's also a function upper, which will return all the characters from the original string, but now in uppercase. Suppose you want to stitch two strings together. You can do this with concatenation. You'll start doing this with the plus symbol. Here we add the string 1 with the string 2 to get the string 1, 2. Likewise, if we add the string hi to the string there, we get hi there. Notice that the string there has a space before the t, which is why the result had a space between the I and the t. Suppose that we'd like to have a string repeat over and over. To do that, we'd use replication. In this example, we're asking the string 1, 2 to be replicated twice to form the string 1, 2, 1, 2. You can combine replication and concatenation like this in order to build more complex strings. The next function, strip, is incredibly valuable in data science. You'll often find you have useless white space, like spaces or new lines, around values that you want to use for analysis. To get rid of those spaces, you can use strip like in this example. Here, strip gets rid of the new line and the spaces before and after the word extras. But you won't always be getting rid of spaces, so you can use the parameter to strip to get rid of the other values. Here we have some garbage asterisks on either side of the number 10. To get rid of those, we just feed in the string with the characters we want, removed as an argument to strip here. Notice that the string passed as an argument is an asterisk, which is why the strip removed asterisks. Sometimes you have a single big string you'd like to break up into smaller substrings. We haven't learned about lists just yet, but for now, lists hold more than one element. In this example, we've used split to split out the words in the sentence using white space. To do that, we gave a space as the argument to this function split. Next, we see how you could do the same thing with a comma-separated value. Suppose this is a movie rating. Jane Doe rated the movie Cars with 5 stars, and that rating is stored with commas between the fields. Calling split with the argument as a comma will do this for you. When we index into strings to get back substrings, this is called slicing. For each of the examples, we'll be working with the word hello. I've broken up the characters in the word hello and labeled them with a character index starting with 0 for the letter H. If we ask for characters 1 through 3, that means we want characters from 1 inclusive to 3 exclusive. So we get back the characters EL. If we ask for 4 through 7, you might think this will cause an error, but it will just select the strings starting at 4 through the end of the word. In this last example, we'll use negative indexes. It's sometimes easier to start from the back of a word when pulling out a substring. The indexes for that are shown here. These indices correspond to these locations because if an index is negative, the new index is calculated as string length plus index. So for -1, 5 plus a -1 is 4. Going back to our original idea, trying to get a substring from the word using -4 to -1. This will give us back ELL. This is the same as asking for a word 1 through 4. What if you want to ask to see if a string contains a word? There are two easy ways to do this. In the first, we'll just ask if HE, both capitalized, is in the word, and we'll get back false. If we ask with the proper case, a capital H and a lowercase e, if that was in the word, we get back true. Suppose that you want to know where in the string to find the substring. You can use the method find. It returns either the lowest start index of the substring or -1 if the substring is missing. Here we ask for E and L and get back the start location of E, which is 1. This can be useful when combined with slicing because you can find the initial location of a substring and then pull out characters starting from there. As we'll be working with both text and numerical data in this course, it's worth mentioning that we can convert from strings to numbers fairly easily. Suppose that we have the string 1, 2, 3, 4. We can convert that to an int by calling the int function. Likewise, if we have the string 1, 2, 3, 4 and we call the function float on it, we get back the floating point version of 1, 2, 3, 4. On the other hand, if we have text in a string and try to convert it to an integer, well, we'll get an error. Lastly, you may have a large body of text and just want to insert some strings into that larger string. To do that, we can use the function format. In this first example, notice the empty brackets. Those are placeholders which will be used by the format function. Once we call format, it substitutes the word data in for the first placeholder and the word analysis for the second. If you want to be more specific about the placeholders, you can number them. This means that the 0 placeholder takes the first word, and the 1 placeholder takes the second, and so on. This becomes more useful when you have input data, which is in a different order than the order you want for your string. In this last example, we use the numbering to flip the word order when called from format. This may not seem that useful now, but remember you might be getting strings which you pass into format from another source. And you may not want to mess around with reordering the strings in that input string. Okay, we've talked about a bunch of string functions in this video. Remember, there are even more functions to apply onto strings. So be sure to check the documentation whenever you want to manipulate strings in some particular fashion.